So lesson number 2, how did it all start? So where did it all come from? Where did I come from? Where did you come from? What is the origin of us, of reality, of everything around us? Where is it heading? Right? All of these are valid questions. I mean, if you look at, nature, and this is actually what I thought for until I found the wisdom of Kabbalah. I thought that everything is just random. I actually discussed this with my wife yesterday, and we were talking about how we each found this wisdom and what this search was for us. And for me, there was just randomness. That's how I thought. I was raised in a Jewish religious home, but at the age of 13, I kind of started, questioning my reality, like I'm sure many of you have and are doing. And my conclusion was, there is nothing, there is no purpose, there is no kind of upper force or anything like that. It's simply random chaos. And then, how could there be that there is such amazing systems? So I thought, okay, by chance, what are the chances that this world will develop? 1 to, a billion. So fine, 1 to a billion over infinite time is bound to happen. So it happened. So what are we all getting excited about, right? So that's what I thought. And then when I heard the explanation of the wisdom of Kabbalah, I must say I was quite amazed of how it all began. So let's take a look and see how it all started. Okay, so it actually started with a thought. A thought of what? Of a force, let's call it light. It's been given many names. I'll just draw it a bit bigger. It's been given many names over the centuries, over millennia. This light, people called it God, Creator, Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu, all kinds of names it was given. But basically, it's a pure form to us that is abstract, and it's the ultimate force of goodness, of love, of fulfillment, of perfection. And this light, it wanted to give, because its nature is a force of giving. So it created something that is the exact opposite. So what is the opposite of something that is the ultimate force of giving? It's an ultimate force of receiving. And this is the creation. Well, actually, this creation that we call sometimes a kli, which is basically a vessel in Hebrew, there was a process here of 4 phases that we're not going to get into now because it's not part of this 5-week semester. But basically, just in a nutshell, it went through a process of 4 stages of the light in the kli, and the kli wanting to become like the light, and then the kli figuring it out that it can only receive. So if it does it with the intention to bestow, then it will become like the light. And then by doing that, it reached the status of the light, and then it as if doubled its desire, and it became the malchut, which in Hebrew means like the kingdomship. But this is the process of the formation of the kli. So this is the 4 phases. I'm not going to go into detail of this now, so it's not the place for questions about this specifically. This is covered in the next course, in the next 5-week course, that maybe we'll cover in another 60 minutes. So basically, this entire process was a process of creation. Now, in the beginning, we can look at it like this. The light and the vessel were in a state of complete perfection, like an embryo in the womb. Okay, looking good. All right, so this is A, this is B, and this is C. And in state A, the light and the vessel were in complete perfection. They were as one, like an embryo in the womb. So, just imagine for a second being an embryo, wrapped, in this warmth, the loving care of the mother, being nurtured, getting everything it needs even before it can think it or imagine it, right? It's nurtured, it's fed, it's protected, basically. It's in a perfect state. So this is the first state. This is state A. It's the light and the kli, the vessel, in a state of perfection. Now, you can say, okay, that sounds great, you know. What happened? What happened? So, what happened was that there was something missing in this state A. And this something that was missing, it led to state B, which is this world. And what was missing, actually? Maybe you can try and take a guess what was missing. So please write in the chat what was missing. I'll give you a few seconds to write it in. And I'm sure many of you got this right. What was missing was one simple thing. We had everything in this first state except for independence. And that's it. And in order to actually reach the desired state of the light, which is to give the ultimate form of fulfillment to the created being. That's the purpose of creation, by the way. And don't let any other one or method tell you otherwise. The purpose of your existence is to receive ultimate fulfillment, only not through our current vessels, because actually we can't. As you've probably noticed, every time you get fulfilled, the pleasure, it cancels the fulfillment cancels the pleasure, right? It's like there's a bug in the system. And this bug is intentional because it's pushing us to a higher level of interaction with that force, with a different kind of intention, let's say. And that different kind of intention changes everything. It changes the way we receive. That's why, by the way, the wisdom of Kabbalah, let's actually do that here. So the wisdom of Kabbalah, in Hebrew, this is Kabbalah, the word Kabbalah. In English, Kabbalah. What it actually means is reception. That's what it means. You know, if you go to a store and you buy something in Israel, then you get a Kabbalah, you get a receipt. That's what the word means, Kabbalah. Because all the wisdom is, it's a method that teaches you how to receive correctly in order to reach this perfect state of connection between the vessel and the light. And in order to reach that state, then the light, it distanced itself over a process of 125 degrees until it reached the minimal form of connection, which is called a thin light, Nerdakik. And what we were left in is this world. Now, this process is also called the shattering. Now, I know the word shattering, it kind of fits into the feeling of this world, doesn't it? It's like we're in a shattered reality. Shattered on all levels, on our perception, on the connection, on humanity, on where we're going. It all seems shattered, right? It seems like this world has something shattered to it. And the reason is because it is, in fact, a result of the shattering. And all we have to do is to climb back up over these 125 degrees. And it's the same 125 degrees that are here, by the way. The same levels that this force concealed itself from us are the same levels we need to climb back up again. That's why when a Kabbalist climbs back up these states, he also knows the purpose and thought of creation, because he replicates the exact same process when climbing back up through these 125 degrees. And that is also why a Kabbalist can describe in detail, on a scientific level, what exists on every one of these degrees and how these forces interact with each other, and how the 10 Sefirot are built, and the 10 Sefirot, which are the building blocks of everything around us, of reality actually, every degree is delving into a deeper structure of these 10 Sefirot. And that's why Kabbalists, they wrote books, and one example is the study of the 10 Sephirot. It's over 3,000 pages of technical. It's like a technical manuscript. It's amazing. It seems so. In some of its parts, it seems so technical and as if non-spiritual, because it's a technical manual. It explains the technical structure of the desire and the vessel and the light and the different states of it and how they interact. And it could be even, boring to an extent if you do not attain what it talks about, because it's basically laying out these structures. But if you attain what the book talks about, then it becomes life. It becomes like alive. Like in the Harry Potter books, when they read books and the books become alive. So that's the study of the 10 Sephirot to a Kabbalist. It's learning about this structure that comes to life, because it's an attainment of everything that we're surrounded by. Okay, so going back to the title of lesson 2, just so we can kind of get back on that. So how did it all start? It all started with a thought of creation, and it is leading us back to that same thought. The only difference is that we need to reach it independently. And now you might be asking how, but wait, we'll get to that in a second. All right, so the thought of creation is the very beginning. State A and state C are identical states. They're states of the light and the vessel being as one, in complete connection and harmony, in a state of ultimate fulfillment. The only difference is that we need to climb back consciously from state B to state C. Now let me tell you a secret, but don't tell anyone. You are, in fact, already here. That's where you are right now. You are already in this state of complete perfection. All you're doing from state B to C is you're changing your glasses to a pair that can perceive that state that you are already in. Right? It's like the example of the radio and the music in the room. The music is already here. I'm surrounded by it. It's everywhere. It's around me. I just don't have a device, so I can't hear it. But if I get this device, if I get the radio and I start playing with a knob to tune into my frequency, and then I hear music, does that mean that this music only started? No, it was there the whole time. It only means that now I developed a tool that can help me perceive this state. And that is exactly what is happening. You are already here in a state of perfection, and there's a point in you that actually feels that feels that what I'm saying is correct, because we all have a spark that is pulling us from this state up to the third state. We all have this spark, right? In some people, all of humanity, by the way, has this spark, because it's built in to creation. It's built into what we are. If we're shattered pieces of this collective state, of this corrected state, then we all have a piece. In some, it's already awakened. In others, it's not. If you're interested in the steps of spiritual awakening, then you can check out the session that we had last week. I'm sure Rachel will post a link in the chat. The 5 life-changing steps of spiritual awakening, which we explained in detail the whole process of the awakening of that point. But we're not going to go into that now. For now, what you need to know is that you're already there in that state, and you just need to discover that. So let's see if we have any questions before we jump over to the next part. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I don't see any questions about this part specifically. If you have questions about this part, then please post them. That would be great. I'm not on the question doc, Ruth, but I am now. Let's see. Okay. So, Dra Carolina is asking... I can't... Okay, would that be becoming our higher self? Yes, that is in a way, becoming and discovering your higher self. That's why, if you're in Kabu, then you see that our big kind of logo there, our tagline is unlock a higher level, because this higher level exists and we each have it. And what we're doing is we're unlocking different parts of our perception that are in fact just preventing us from seeing this. So you're discovering, you can say, your higher self. Question from Tony is if reality is based on one's perception of the world, how does one change their perception? Great. And one of the lessons that we're going to cover today is about that. So if you just joined us recently, we're doing in 60 minutes a full entire Kabbalah course. So we're up to lesson 2. Actually running a little behind on time, but I think we'll make it. Okay, so we're up to lesson number 2, and we're talking about how it all began and where we're headed. Sandra is asking, do only humans have a point in the heart? How about animals? Good question, Sandra. Animals are actually, all of nature, still vegetative and animate, are all already in a corrected state. They don't need to correct anything. They're part of the system of nature itself. The only thing that needs to change its perception are human beings, because the egoistic, the true ego exists only in human beings. Animals follow instincts, and their instincts are natural and they're harmonious with their environment. Human instincts are egoistic and they are destructive to the human environment. Okay. Let's see. Does the new sense, is it like seeing another world, or is it a feeling of happiness? You'll have to develop it and find out. In Kabbalah, we say, taste and see. You shouldn't believe anything that anyone tells you, besides having trust that you feel that what they're saying is correct. But in fact, you should strive to find out, to delve into it, to discover it yourself. And until you don't taste it, then it's all philosophy, right? It's all just imagining what it's like. It's like a bunch of blind people talking about what the color blue is like. We can do that theoretically, but it's all theoretical, it's all philosophical. It's not rooted in reality, and Kabbalah does not like talking about philosophy, only about things that are actually attained within the sense. Okay, moving to lesson number 3. Okay, lesson number 3. All right. So, lesson number 3, the title is, too many buttons here, clicking around. Okay, here it is. Lesson number 3, that's the wrong screen, this is the right one. Path of pain versus path of light. So what does it mean, path of pain versus path of light? So, let's quickly recap. Lesson 1, the wisdom of Kabbalah. What is it? It's a method that can help you develop a tool to tap in to a spiritual frequency, a hidden frequency that is the driving force of reality. That's the wisdom of Kabbalah. Lesson number 2, it all started from a thought, from the thought of creation, you can call it that. Don't get confused with anything religious, because these terms sound confusing. We sometimes refer to it as the creator, but in fact, it's nothing like the names that you've learned most likely in your childhood as part of different religions, any religion. It's something else. So think of it more as a force of nature. It's like an upper force that is on a higher level of reality. That everything that we see around us is a result. We're in the world of consequences, and there is a world of causes, like the control room of reality, you can call it that. So all we need to do is we need to climb back up to that state. And now path of pain versus path of light is talking simply about the process through which we climb. So imagine this. Imagine that, let's make this whole thing a little bit smaller, and then, okay, I guess I can't make it smaller. Let's imagine that we can go through this here, through these 125 degrees. We can go through pain, and we can go through light. Now, what does that mean? It means that each and every one of us, and this goes both for the individual and for the collective, we have what's called in Kabbalah a reshimon. Now, I find that the most accurate translation, there really is no translation for this in English, but I think it's most accurately described as if it's like a registry, right? It's like a registry that holds in it information. That's what it is. And it holds information of all the states, past, present, and future. And within this reshimon, within this registry, everything that you've ever experienced, and I'm not talking just about in your current life, because this spark of yours that you have inside of you that's pulling you to discover something higher is in fact eternal. And when I say eternal, I mean that it actually came from here. That's where it came from. It didn't come, a year ago when you started asking these questions, or 10 years ago, or a month ago, or a day ago. No. It awakened maybe then, and it started having, like, as if sparkling, but it's not really sparkling, but as if, because then it starts sparkling and then you start feeling it, right? So just imagine it like that maybe. But actually, it was there the entire time. It just awakened. Now, why did it awaken is a different question, which we're not going to get into right now. But it actually has to do with the reshimon. So every one of these states is, in fact, actually already built. Past, present, and future. How can it be? How can the future states already be in existence? Because spirituality is above time and space. When we're talking about this level over here, we're talking about a process that is above the limitations of this world as we see them. Plus, we already know today from science, the whole theory of relativity, that even time isn't exactly what we think it is. It's actually very different. It's relative. So if you travel really, really fast, getting closer to the speed of light, so you can travel for, a year in space, come back to Earth, and 1,000 years would have passed, right? Interestingly, we said that everything is in consequence of the spiritual worlds. So interestingly, that this law of relativity is talking about coming closer and closer to the speed of light. Of course, the spiritual root of that principle is simply coming closer and closer, not to the speed of light, but to the light itself. And as you do, when you become like it, you rise above the reality of this world. You rise to a reality which is above time and above space. It's pretty cool. So all of these states are already in existence. Now, nature is pushing you to evolve to these states. And whether you like it or not, there isn't much you can do about that. Meaning, a baby, an embryo in the womb, it's developing. You can't stop it unless there's some disaster, but if everything is as planned, it'll happen. It evolves, and it has in it also pleasure and pain, etc. Now, we are developing, and you could even say awakening, because this point in us is awakening to a higher level of reality. And this higher level, we're going towards it no matter what. Now the question is, are we pulling ourselves towards the future states that are already in existence, or are we not? If we are always advancing through attracting this light, through aspiring to develop from one degree to the next, from aspiring to rise from this world to the spiritual world, if we're always aspiring for the light, then we develop in what is called in Kabbalah the path of light. What does it mean? It means that you're always one step ahead. It means that you're consciously bringing yourself into balance. Because all pain is lack of light, in fact. Any sense of pain that you experience on the deepest, most fundamental levels, to the silliest, simplest things, all it is lack of light. And when you consciously evolve through attracting this light, which we'll get to that as well on how to attract this light, when you consciously evolve towards the light, then you advance through the path of light, which is a pleasant, painless path, really. That's the path of light. And the path of pain is like being a stubborn little kid that doesn't want to do their homework, and there's no choice, the homework has to be done. Now, the path of pain is not the state of advancing. You can't advance through the path of pain. It's just like you can't do, if you want to get your kid to do their homework and they're not doing it, and then you want to put in some kind of incentive, so you might create something that seems to them as painful, but the pain that they experience isn't doing their homework. It's just pushing them to do their homework. So the action itself isn't acquired, isn't achieved by the pain. Pain is just pushing us to advance in the path of light. That's basically what pain is. And I'm sure that you've experienced it yourself and you've seen it around you. Pain pushes us to search, and it pushes us to find. And humanity on a whole, and also us on the individual levels, we've all experienced different kind of pain. But if this pain is pushing us to evolve, to birth, then you can think of it like growing pains. There's even like a phrase, growing pains. When you grow, it comes with a certain form of pain. But if you advance through what we call the path of light, then your advancement it's sweet, it's mitigated. It's like making an effort, which is painful, but knowing what the purpose for it is, and then you enjoy it. It becomes sweet, right? Plus, if you advance through this path of light, not through the path of pain, basically you're bringing yourself into balance. You're changing your perception. So some of you might ask, okay, so if I go through the path of light, then will I still experience the same pain, but I'll only see it positively? The answer is no. No, you will not. If you advance through a path of light, then you're advancing through a different level of perception of reality. It's difficult to explain and understand because we're talking about a different layer of perception. But everything that you perceive now is a result of your limited perception of reality. So if you change that perception, your reality changes. So you might say, okay, but what? So we'll see everything differently? Yes, you'll see everything differently. Take on your glasses, and I always use this example, put on a pair of different glasses that have a different lens. So these are darker glasses, and then if I put these on, then I see everything differently. Okay. So if you change your lens, then you'll not experience the same reality and just justify it and say, yeah, okay, this pain is good for me. No, you will experience reality differently. You will experience it from a different perspective. So that was lesson 3, path of pain versus path of light. Now, this is already bringing us into the next lesson, lesson number 4 out of 5, which is, okay, so if everything that we experience as pain is a result of how we perceive reality, and it's lack of light, then what's this perception of reality? How do we perceive reality?
All right, everyone. Wow, a lot of information, huh? This is a break. We have 5 minutes. So I'm going to answer the questions as best I can, and they won't be long explanations because we don't have a lot of time. So I'm going to answer Marie's question. She says, do we ever become perfected, or are we always in process? So that's a good question. We are in process until the final correction. So there's a final correction that takes place after we go through the 125 degrees. So we fell 125 degrees and we came to that B circle. That's our world that we're in right now. And then we have to do those 125 degrees to get up back again where we're with the light again. And then that's the final process. Then we're done with that process. They talk about another process, but they don't talk a lot about it. We don't know about that. So I can't answer what happens after that. Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay. I want to say one more thing about that, Marie. I'm not sure about the amount of years, but the shattering took place, I'm not sure exactly, 5,780 years ago. So it's right around there. If you want the exact date, we'll get it for you. That means there's 220 years until the final correction. So it's going to happen. And then he talked about the path of pain or the path of light. So if we follow the path of light, we could get there quicker. We could get there faster than the 220 years. Okay.
Well, there's another question from David in the chat.
Yes. Can we see the future? Okay. No, we cannot see the future, but we can see the future in a way. So, and he talked about it a little bit. Gilad talked about it. We'll be able to actually see if our life is going to be better based on our actions and our intentions. If we follow that path of light, then our life is definitely going to be better. And the life of everybody else, the life of your family, the life of your friends, the whole world is going to look different to you. So you won't be able to tell the exact future, but you'll know that your future is going to be bright for sure. Okay, there was another question. How much time do we have? We're ready to go back. Okay, so at the end, after this, we're going to have another time for questions, and we're also going to have a discussion. So put your questions in the chat. All right, thank you, everyone. I hope I answered your questions okay.
Yeah, this part is going to be shorter. It's going to be about a little less than 20 minutes. So we'll be back soon.
Perception of reality. Well, I didn't really have to show this text, but okay, fine. Just so you have it organized. Lesson 4, perception of reality. Okay, so let's just continue with this drawing because basically we're unfolding everything through this. So we're advancing through this process, and in fact, like I whispered to you before, if you remember, it was a long time ago, it was 3 weeks of lessons ago, I whispered to you that you are already in this state. You're already in state C. So why don't you feel that way? The answer is because of the way you perceive reality. So, in short, you can think of yourself like a black box. Okay. And this box, it has 5 openings. right? And these openings, well, they're not really openings, in fact. They're actually filters. That's our five senses, obviously. Smell, touch, taste, see, and hear. And what we experience, and this is science, by the way, it's not even spirituality. We experience something that's outside of us. So there's something outside, it goes through your eye, and then your mind, your brain interprets it as something, and then it paints a picture of reality. There was a study that found that if you invert the lenses of your glasses, you'll see everything upside down. That's not the research. That's just, optics. The research showed that if you wear these glasses for 3 days, then you start seeing reality straight. And if you take off the glasses, then everything will be upside down. So that's, whoa, okay, so which one of those is really reality? So the answer is none of them. The answer is we don't know what reality is. We only know what we perceive with our senses. And what's outside is a question mark. Right? So it's pretty mind-blowing. I'm just saying it like in a few quick sentences, but if you really delve into this last minute, it's incredible, because it actually means that we have no idea what's outside of us. Everything you look, you're in front of a computer or on your phone, and everything around you, and it's just some form of energy. We don't really know what it is, so this whole picture is like an illusion that is just drawn to us by our senses. Ask a fish, how does a fish perceive reality? Does he see the same reality as you? Probably not. So who's to say that the reality that you see is the correct reality? Obviously, it's not too. It's on a spectrum. You can imagine it like this. So, the fish. So we're not up here. No. Up here, I mean. No, we're nowhere there. We're simply here. And there's a whole spectrum of reality that we're just not perceiving. And the reason why we don't perceive the spectrum of reality is very simple. It's because we don't have the right tool, like we said before. Now, what is that right tool? Very simple. It's the intention. What intention? Okay, so it goes like this. The hardware of this mechanism, of this box with five senses, the hardware, meaning it's the matter that it's made from, is a will to receive. That's all it is. A will to receive. A desire, you could say. And that's not good, it's not bad, it's all that there was. All that was created, a desire. Now, upon that desire, there is also its software. Now, the software that we're in currently is the intention. So the intention is the software. So the intention that we currently have is in order to receive. That's the intention that we currently have. Everything that we receive, even when we give, it's in order to receive fulfillment. So we do what fulfills us. And that's a fundamental law of our current existence in reality. Now you can question it, you cannot agree, but I guarantee that if you really think about it, you'll find that every action that you do is simply driven by that calculation. How can I receive the most pleasure with a minimum effort? And what we need to change it to is the same desire, which is also to receive, and that cannot change because that's the only thing that was created. So that same desire, in order to receive, it needs to change its intention in order to give. That's it. This switch of the intention is unlocking reality. All right? So that was lesson number 4. This is how we perceive reality. We perceive it through filters, which are our 5 senses, and all that's missing is changing that intention, and the action of changing that intention is in fact developing a sixth sense that can connect you to, it's like a direct link to a different layer of reality. It's not one of these five senses. It's in a completely different layer, but it's like a sixth sense. And this sixth sense is the development of a new intention, the intention in order to give. Now, you're probably playing with it now and saying, okay, so if I, let's say, receive something like a gift from someone, and I receive it and I say, okay, I don't even care about the gift, I'll receive it for them, for their sake. So you're getting closer, but you're still calculating maximum pleasure at minimum effort. It's still not exiting that equation. This transition here isn't a psychological switch. It is on a certain level, but what's rooted in there is a much higher internal change that doesn't limit or change anything on your corporeal, material level of how you live in this world, but it adds an additional layer to it. That's why when you study Kabbalah, you can remain in your religion. You don't have to change anything externally. You don't have to quit your job, or you don't have to change anything. You only need to add this internal layer that you work on changing that intention. So that is how we perceive reality. Now, how do we change that intention? That's your question. That's lesson number 5, right? So lesson number 5 is the light that returns to good. Just think about that name, the light that returns to good. It means that there is light. It means that there is a good state and that we're not in it anymore, but that we were, because returns means that you were there already. So that those few words have a lot in them, the light that returns to good. We were in a good state, like we said, state A, B, and C, and all we need to do is we need to climb back up to that state. How do we do it? How do we change our perception? There is something beautiful in the wisdom of Kabbalah. It's amazing. I love it, and I'm sure you will love it too. It's a concept that is called the light that returns to good, or sometimes it's called the light that reforms. So you know how all these a lot of new age methods, they have like, the law of attraction, think positive, etc. They're actually not new at all. They're rooted in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And they're rooted in this principle that, this is already, okay, let's keep going here. Okay, so when you're in this state and in state B, actually let's draw a clean one. So you're here. And I know we only have 6 minutes left, but that will be just enough to finish lesson number 5 and the last lesson in our crash course, the light that returns to good. So you're here in this world, and you're not satisfied by it. If you were, you wouldn't be here. You want something more. Now, you want something higher. Let's call it the spiritual world. Okay, so how do you reach the spiritual world? How do you change your intention? How do you change your perception? Or basically, if you go over the lessons that we talked about, you'll see it's all the same thing. It's all different aspects of just changing the way we interact with these forces. That's the wisdom of Kabbalah, right? So how do we do it? There is something that's called the light that reforms. So the light that reforms it goes like this. You're in this state, in this world, and there is already the perfected state, right? We called it state C. Now, in this perfected state, you're already in existence. You're already in complete perfection and connected to this entire network of everything and everyone in perfect harmony and in a perfect state of fulfillment. Now, if you aspire for this state, if you want to reach it, that's it. Want to reach it. How simple is that? If you want to reach that state, what happens is you're attracting upon yourself light from that state that you want to achieve. Simple. The light that returns to good. This light, it lifts you, it brings you closer to that state, to that final corrected, perfect state, from you wanting to reach it. Now, how do you reach it? How do you want to reach it? What, I just sit there and I want to reach it? Well, luckily, Kabbalists developed and discovered 3 main tools in order to do that. Tool number 1 is a teacher. You have to have a teacher because you need someone to guide you. Without a teacher, it's like getting sick and then studying to become a doctor to treat yourself. You can theoretically do that. It'll just take you a long time and you might die until you become a doctor. So a teacher, it accelerates time, it guides you on how to advance. Number 2, books. And when I say books, I mean only authentic Kabbalistic books. I don't know what books out there are authentic. There are thousands of them. All I know that the books that we have in Kabu, in Bnei Baruch, Kabbalah Info, they are authentic. For them, I can vouch. Anything that's outside of there, I don't know, so don't even ask about it. So that's number 2. Now, why the books? Because when you read an authentic Kabbalistic book, the Kabbalist that wrote that, he didn't write about this world. He wrote the book about the spiritual world. And even though it seems that it's worded about talking about this reality, there isn't a single word in the Kabbalistic text that talks about this reality. Right? So here it is. I'm talking about this book over here. So you're reading a book with authentic Kabbalistic text, and when you read it, you want to connect to the spiritual state the Kabbalist wrote about. You want to be there with him. You want to rise to that level. Result, light that reforms. All right? That's the result. Sorry, over here. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, you need a community. You need not just for psychological support or for support on on the material level. Actually, not at all for that. It's helpful, but not for that. That's not the reason. The reason is because in this perfect state, it's a state where everything and everyone is already connected. So when you are studying with someone, and even right now in this live broadcast, the fact that you're watching this together and you're even communicating a little bit in the chats, etc., if you want to build this connection between each other, in order to be similar to this state up here, because in this state you are in fact connected, this is probably the most powerful method of light that reforms. More than anything. This environment, this community. Right? So 3 methods to attract the light that reforms. So I have 1 minute left, and I'm going to recap in that 1 minute the entire course. So lesson number 1, what is the wisdom of Kabbalah? It's a method to discover the hidden forces of reality, the causes that govern our world. Lesson number 2, it all started with the thought of creation. A force that is entirely a force of giving, that created the opposite of it in order to be able to give to it. They were already in a state of perfection, but there was one thing missing: independence of the created being. As a result, the light pulled itself away from the created being and left us, quote unquote, in this world. What we need to do is we need to rise back up to that perfected state independently, to actually find that we were there all along, but only our perception did not enable us to see that. There are 2 methods of rising in this path of pain and path of light. Path of pain is when you resist these forces. You feel them inside, they're pushing you, they want you to evolve, and you're being stubborn, you don't want to advance. So nature, the forces of nature naturally are just pushing you to evolve. Like the world now in coronavirus, right? Pushing the world to evolve, either through pain or through light. That's entirely up to you. How do we perceive the reality that we're in? How do we apply this method? Well, we're locked in a box of 5 senses that's run on this hardware, which is a will to receive that can't change, it won't change. What can change is the intention that we use. That's the software planted on the hardware. Currently, our intention is in order to receive. We need to change that with the intention in order to give. So the ultimate state is receiving, because that cannot change, with the intention to give. And changing that small little bug unlocks everything. How do we do that? The light that returns to good, the light that reforms. A potential energy that if we want it, if we aspire for it, if we are attracted to it, it pulls us up to that state. How do we interact with this energy? Kabbalists recommend 3 means. 1 is a teacher to guide you. 2 are books, not to guide you, but written by Kabbalists, so when you read them, you can connect to the spiritual level they were written from. And by doing so, you attract yourself, you bring yourself to that level. And number 3 is community, not for material support or psychological support, but again, because when you connect with like-minded people who also want to evolve spiritually, you begin to resemble the system that you are already in and connected. So when you want to connect with someone who also wants to evolve spiritually, and you do that because you want to resemble that system, that's the most powerful means to draw this light that reforms, the light that returns to good. So that's it. That was an entire Kabbalah course in 60 minutes. Hope you.
All right. How's everybody feeling? That was great. All right, we have a couple more questions that I want to answer. One of them was from David on Facebook. He says, how do we know which path is the right path? And that's a good question, because there's so many methods out there. There's so many paths out there. And the wisdom of Kabbalah is also called the science of Kabbalah. So when you start studying, if you start studying, you become like a scientist, and you'll know it by experience. So it's all like Gilad was talking about. You'll be with other people, like-minded people, and you'll be going through the process like a scientist, and you'll see if it actually works. You'll see if what the books are talking about, what the teacher's talking about, what the Kabbalists are talking about, you'll be able to see if it actually works by doing the things that they tell you to do. So that's how you'll know, just by experience. One thing that I want to clarify is I said 220 years before this final correction, before we reach spirituality, but that's not exactly true, because we can achieve this in our lifetime. We can achieve it in one of these sessions on Open Diner. It can happen in our lifetime. We don't have to go through that whole process, 220 years. That's the process of pain. So let's make it happen sooner than that. Okay. The next question was by Nancy, and she asked, reality is different for everyone. How does he define reality? I want to kind of change the question a little bit, because reality is reality. The perception of reality is different for everyone. And he defined reality, and the Kabbalists defined reality as what is out there that we don't perceive yet, which is a constant giving, loving force that encompasses everything, that is constantly giving, constantly filling. So it's a force of love, unconditional love. Okay. So I guess, let me see, what time is it? 7:07. Okay. If you're interested, it was put in the chat. Nina put it in the chat, the link for signing up for a Kabbalah course. So you can do that if you're interested and you want to continue learning and finding out what the meaning of life is. Also, is there anyone that has anything to say or any other questions? Anyone? Don't be shy.
I just think the whole thing is very confusing.
I agree.
Good. Thank you.
I have, what I would say, does anybody have a question as far as me? I don't know enough to ask a good question. And his talk went right through me. I guess
Without a doubt.
so I don't walk away from here with anything really, knowing that if I want, his talk went through me.
It's really good what you're saying, Nancy, because to be honest, I've been studying for 10 years and I still have questions. That was a 5-month course in 1 hour. So yeah, it's very confusing. It can be very confusing, but the questions that we had from people were very good questions. And you know, you might have questions. Actually, you know what's good? If you listen to it again, you can listen to it again, you know, the recording, and you'll have some more questions for sure. I guarantee you, you'll have questions that will come up.
The more you know, yes. That's right.
Okay.
What is the most practical baby step that we can take in this?
That's a good question. You know, if you have that point in the heart, there was a question here. Somebody wrote it in the chat. Is the spark, that spark, that point in the heart, is it inspiration? And you know, it is. Initially, that point in the heart is inspiration, but that's it. It's just inspiration in the very beginning. From that point on, it's all up to you. It's all based on your desire to learn, if you want to learn. So a baby step would be, a baby step would be signing up for the course. If you want to learn more, studying is the best way. Yeah, studying with other people, like-minded people.
Carl, how has it affected your life having studied it for so long?
Oh my goodness.
Is it something that's
We're
now
going over time here, but because I could really, I have become a better father, a better husband, a better dad. Like the question about, can we see the future? I basically know what I have to do to have a better life. And just knowing what to do to have a better life drastically improves your life. Yeah. So, you know what, we're going to have a round discussion now. We have a few minutes, and let's just have a discussion on what is the meaning of life, because that's the topic of tonight's session. So, and let's do it popcorn style, whatever comes up in your heart, whatever you're feeling after watching that video. And, you know, the reason you come to Open Diner, what is the meaning of life? So go ahead. Anyone who wants to say anything. If nobody says anything, I'll call on somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Meaning of life lets me know that this is not an accident. There was a divine purpose for all of this. Even though right now, based on my level, it may not make sense. It does not provide me with all the answers that I need, but I have found that through this system that we're talking about, it does provide the answers that a person would need to understand the purpose of this life. It does give you that. Thank you.
I think the meaning of life would feel like there's some type of fulfillment, that you get some type of satisfaction from, um, you know, eating and breathing here on earth. So that's what I feel meaning of life should be.
Yeah, and in the video, he was talking about this path of what was it called? Path of pain and path of light. So to me, the meaning of life would be to shifting from the path of pain and going by this quicker path that can bring me to understand the meaning of life and give me fulfillment in it.
Well, I think this video on meaning of life was a lot different than the other movie on the meaning of life by Monty Python. But just kidding there. But for me, I know that it's just having a sense of purpose in life and a sense of destination, because I've been looking ever since I was probably 18 years old. I knew there was more to life than, just what was dictated to me by society. And so I've been on that for a long, long time. But the fulfillments that you look for on this level of life aren't really fulfillments. I mean, they don't really accomplish anything, and they don't create any results. So I know there's a higher realm. Ever since I was young, I knew there was more than just this physical realm, and that the fulfillment was that there was a lot that we didn't see. Like he was saying in this, there's a lot out there that we don't see or sense because we don't have the tools for it yet. But I think if you change your intention, like he said, I think that you can find that purpose and you can find that satisfaction.
I'll just add, I think it's so cool that, when he was saying about like the radio switch, that there's frequencies all around us, but we just don't have the radio, like Paul was just tapping on. Or like when you change your glasses, what you see it's all perception. Somebody could see something that's good in a situation, and somebody else could see something that's bad. It's how you perceive. That's what I'm getting out of the whole thing. And it's just a change of thought. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. Change of thought, and a change of thought, like he said, like we're all here together right now in the state of like community. So it's already one step there. It seems possible.
Another word for light is pleasure. So ultimate pleasure is what we're always striving for. So I think the meaning of life is to try to find the way to discover and have ultimate pleasure, the right way to do it, the right way to have that ultimate pleasure, to be one with that light. Anyone else?
I think what you said, wait a minute. Okay, Gary, I think what you said makes me think of there's so much out there, we have no idea what's going on. Okay, there are people who have the ability to sit here in New York City and to remotely be able to see Russia and to see, for example, are they planning a nuclear plant, whatever. If you read the book, Extraordinary Knowing, it is extraordinary. And there's so much that we don't know. Some of us are very receptive to psychic stuff, okay? It's absolutely, it's fascinating. You really all should read Extraordinary Knowing.
Nancy, we only have, I have to interrupt you because we only have.
That's enough to say, read it. Excuse me. It's extraordinary.
Okay. Anyone else on the meaning of life?
I think the meaning of life is to figure out how we as humans fit in this, whole system. And when you look outside at the natural world, everything else is in perfect harmony, in balance. We are the only ones that are. We can't get along with each other. It's definitely weird. You take arguments from the planet and everything comes back in perfect balance in just a very short time. I think the meaning of life is to figure out how we come to connection and, in perfect harmony with the rest.
I saw Gladys. Gladys, did you want to say something?
No, I was going to agree with Gary that hold on. I was going to agree with Gary about that we have a purpose in life. I just feel like the last probably 10 years, as I'm trying to find a spiritual sense in my life, I have been noticing that a lot of people have like a spiritual emptiness, that most people are looking for something, but we don't know what it is. Just to have a fulfilled life.
Very nice. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, now our fun part. Time to loosen up. Okay, we're gonna play some music, and for those of you who haven't been here before, we're going to start doing some moves when we hear the music. So any move you feel to do, we're all gonna copy your move. So when you see yourself on the screen, when there's a big picture of you on the screen, you're gonna do a little dance, a little move, whatever you feel like, and everybody's gonna follow it, okay? So whenever you see yourself, you'll see there's gonna be a message there, but disregard that message. Just dance. That's all you gotta do is dance, okay? Here we go.
I'm not one for exaggeration. I'll say it a million times. We could see a whole lot better if we opened up our eyes. A world so big
That was a great one to end it on, Natalia.
I know, that's a good one. He's da 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 da. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So everybody's all loosened up now. Good. So yeah, this is about it. We can show the Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. We can show that up there, all those links that you can go to. You can go there and watch past episodes. Share those links with your friends, and like us there, love us there. Comment. You can comment there. So thank you everybody for joining. What do we have next Thursday? Oh, 6:30 is the 1 year anniversary. Oh, there's the links now. Okay. Okay. And recently we added TikTok. So there's some good little clips, good little videos there from Open Diner. Okay, so next Thursday at 6:30 is our 1 year anniversary. We've been Open Diner for 1 year now. Woo! How many of you have been with us here for the whole year? I know, Nancy, I think you've been with us. Paula? Yeah.
I needed
Brandon? Yeah, nice. All right, so we're gonna have a really fun time next week. What are we doing? It's a bash. It will be lots of fun. We're gonna have recipes, role playing, toasts. We're gonna do toasts. Okay, so and bring friends for this, because this will be really interesting for new people. RSVP on Facebook and Meetup, and that's it.
Carl, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Can we do something instead of recipes and all that? Can we do something, please, that was like what we did when all of us started fighting and really showed what we were like? And I was like, you know what? Look, you know, Gary, you be quiet. I wanted a romantic wedding. We were all.
They're doing
that one.
They're doing the role play.
That's the role play.
Hysterical.
Yeah. We're gonna do that.
Because that got us totally out of we're all terrible in this world. This was like, I mean, I was happy.
Yeah,
you know? And
everybody will enjoy that. We'll do role playing for sure.
That would be so much fun. God.
Yeah, and if any of you have any ideas, put it in the go to the website that we listed there. Open Diner. I'm not sure what it is, but put your suggestions in there. TikTok, Open Diner. Okay, if you have suggestions for us, anything you want us to do. You can also send us
an email. You can send us an email at opendiner2020@gmail.com. Send your suggestions.
I don't even know
Thank you, Nina.
what TikTok is. Like
next week is the fun. Everybody's got to come next week. It's a party.
It is. It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. It's going to be really good.
And we're back
all right, everyone.
6:30.
6:30 next week. Thank you, everyone. Tech team, everyone. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everybody.